How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Chav Gimel, Daf 23 of Masechta Nedarim, friends. Today we're studying a Mishnah about Nidrei Zeruzin and the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. That's what we're going to do. I imagine it probably shouldn't take too long, because we really only have like an Amud to do, because we did like the first Amud yesterday, basically, so. Alright, well, we're going to start on Daf Chav Gimel Amud Aleph, like 4 lines from the bottom at the Mishnah. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, says Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Okay. Afarotze lahadres chaveru sheyochel etzlo. Oh, so if a friend wants to insist that his friend should come over to his house to eat, Yomar, so you should say in advance, Kol neder she'ani osed lidor hu batel. That any neder that I'm going to be making, any vow that I'm going to be making should be null and void. Where am I? Uvachi izocher b'shas neder, as long as he remembers that at the time that he makes the vow. So basically, you have a guy, and he wants his friend to come over to his house very badly. And therefore, right, sheyochel, so they should eat at his house. So what he says is, yo, guy, if you don't come over to my house, so then I'm not going to get any benefit from you. Or you're not going to get any benefit from me. Some kind of a vow situation. So now, he's really just doing this because he wants his friend to come over. He doesn't really want to make him not be able to come over to his house and benefit from him and that kind of stuff. But really he just wants to motivate the guy to come over. So he should say in advance that, by the way, I'm going to be making this vow. It shouldn't really be serious. I'm really just doing it to motivate the other guy to come over. Alright. So now says the Gemara, "V'cheven de Omar kol neder shani also lido ye bottle lo shama v'lei v'lo osi ba'adei." No, if the vower is already saying in advance that it's not really actually going to be a vow because I'm really just saying it to motivate the other guy, but it's not really true, well then the guy is not going to come over to his house because he knows it's just a game. So the Gemara says, well, the Mishnah is missing a few words. Add these few words and say like this. So if this guy wants that his friend should come over to his house to eat, and the friend is being like, yo, buddy, thanks but no thanks. It's giving excuses. Umadiro nidre zeruzin hu. I'm sorry, umadiro. So then the host makes this neder, but it's only nidre zeruzin. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov is saying that, okay, in the event that let's call him Josh Lonick and Strilly Raps. So Josh Lonick wants Strilly Raps to come over to his house, and Strilly Raps is always, let's just say first names and last names, Josh and Strilly. So Josh wants Strilly to come over to his house, and he calls Strilly all the time, and he tries to invite him, and even tries to get Strilly to make a commitment, and he's very, very non-committal. So Josh says, you know what? If you don't come over to my house, you can't get any benefit from me. So in that case, so Nidre Zeruzinu, he's really just doing it to motivate Strilly to come over to his house. And it's not a real neder, he doesn't need to get it annulled or anything like that. It's, and that's that. Okay, fine. And if you have a fellow who doesn't want that any of his nedarim, the gans yard, the entire year, he doesn't want any of his neders to be relevant, Yamud Rosh Hashanah, so he should get up on Rosh Hashanah, V'yomar, and he should say, Kol neder shani osed lidor ye batel. That any neder, any vow that I'm going to make this year, I guess, should be batel, should be null. Uvilvad she'izocher b'shas neder, as long as he remembers at the time that he makes the vow. Okay? So, we said chasur mechsov achikitani. So we said that we're missing some stuff in the Mishnah. Basically, the way to understand the Mishnah is like this. That Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says that if you have a guy who makes a vow just so that to motivate his friend to come over, so he doesn't need to get a hatara on that or anything like that. Because it's just motivational. That's that. Now, if you have a fellow who wants, all of his vows from the entire year to be null. So now Rosh Hashanah he gets up and he says that what do we say? So Kol Neder Shani also Lidor Yeh Batel. He gets up on Rosh Hashanah and he says that any Nedarim that I make this year should be Batel. And then we say, and in that case though, he has to remember at the time that he vows that it's going to be null, I guess. So now, but Fekti Gemara, Yizacher Akre Litnoi, V'kaim de Nidre. But the Gemara says, but if he gets up on Rosh Hashanah and says that any vows that I make this year are going to be null and void, and then at the time that he makes some vow at some later point, he remembers that he had initially made them null, and he goes ahead with the vow anyways, so isn't that basically overriding the Tanai that he made on, right, the vow that he made on, I guess what he made on Rosh Hashanah, that on Rosh Hashanah he said, all of my vows should be null and void. But then he's now basically overriding that by making a vow anyways with the, right, remembering that he had made this sort of nullification statement on Rosh Hashanah, and yet he's going ahead with the vow anyways with that knowledge. So shouldn't that override his stipulation, right, his statement from Rosh Hashanah? So Amar Abai, Tini Uvovad, Shelo Yehi Zacher B'Shas HaNeder. So Abai says, no, punkt fakert. No, what it means is that as long as he, was not thinking about it at the time that he made the subsequent vow. So if on Rosh Hashanah he says that any vows that I make this year should be null and void, and then at some later point he makes a vow and he's not thinking about it being a vow or the fact that he made anything null and void on Rosh Hashanah, he just made a vow. So because he had already said on Rosh Hashanah that any vows that he makes are going to be null and void, so it's null and void. But if he remembered at the time that he makes the vow, then he's overriding it. Rav Omar, Rav says the Olam Kedaminon Meikar. No, really it is like we said initially, that he remembers at the time that he makes the vow. Okay, but Hachav Ma'eskinon, here what are we talking about? Kigon, Shehisne Rosh Hashanah, V'lo Yoda B'ma Hisna. But this is talking about a case where he made the vow, where he made the stipulation on Rosh Hashanah. He says that any vows that I make this year are going to be null and void, but he doesn't remember the details. Was he saying any vows that I make about pizzas, any vows that I make about falafels? He couldn't remember, maybe even shawarma. He couldn't remember the details of the vow. And now he's making a neder later on. So if he remembers at the time that he makes the vow and says, yes, it was about pizza, and that I said that any neder that I'm going to make this year regarding pizza is going to be null and void, and now he's saying, so now this vow about pizza should be null and void. So then Nidre lay Vadas Rishona Ani Noder. So Nidre lays Bamamasho. Oh, so he's basically in line with his stipulation from Rosh Hashanah that this pizza related vow should be irrelevant. Lo Amar Adas Rishona Ani Noder Akre Litnoi V'Kayim the Nidre. But if at the time that he makes that later vow, he does not say that this is in line with my stipulation on Rosh Hashanah, well then he's just overriding his Rosh Hashanah stipulation, and it would be a proper vow. Alright. Rav Huna bar Chinana Savar the Midrash of Pirka. Now Rav Huna bar Chinana thought to teach over these halachas about overriding vows from Rosh Hashanah in some shir. Omle Rave, so Rave talked him out of it. He says, Tanaka mastim lo sasume. The author of our Mishnah was being sort of vague about this halachis. Kedei shelo yinagu kalas rosh b'nedarim, so that people shouldn't be lightheaded when it comes to nedarim, right? That he's saying that in Rosh Hashanah, and my now vows going to be null and void, and then he's overriding it. It's like unclear what's he overriding, right? So we don't want you to be making vows, and therefore the Mishnah was deliberately kind of vague. And you're going to give a shir about it to teach the ins and outs of how to make nedarim over here like this. So Rava kind of talked him out of it, and says better to kind of keep it vague so that people just avoid the whole sugya of vows to begin with. Friends, that was the Daf Chav Gimel of Masechta Nedarim. We saw the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. It says when it comes to Nidrei Zeruzin, when it comes to Nedarim that are motivational, that you make the neder just so that your friend should come over to your house or something. So you don't need to get it annulled or anything like that, because it's clear that you're only making it so that your friend should come over to your house. Alright, well, that was Daf Chav Gimel, Masechta Nedarim. Hope you enjoyed. Peace out.